Hey everybody, Off the Mic Sports Network, another edition of Off the Top Rope. Weirdly, I got into it with some WWE people on the internet on Monday night in the midst of Monday Night Raw, because like a lot of the internet, has been very critical of this build to and this progression and this process of getting to evolution. I think that really, and I've talked about this, I think WWE overplayed its hand and basically was like, we're going to have to get every single possible event that we can to take the shine off of AEW All In Texas. And I think it's been a detriment to a lot of things within this product. Ticket sales have been going fine, but if they don't get to a certain number, I feel like the women might somewhat be scapegoated. So, listen, the build itself, and given what WWE has been able to come up with in basically, let's call it what it is. Literally, they had one match on this card 13 days before this show. They had one match on this show as of last Monday, and it was the NXT Championship match between JC Jane and Jordan Grace. And that was the first known match. No main roster things. We had a hint that Liv Morgan and Nikki Bella were going to do something because on that I think it was that June 9th show that they had in Phoenix, where Nikki Bella made her return, Liv Morgan had a promo with her, and then Liv obviously got hurt, and that kind of derailed a key cog in this build to begin with. So that deserves a little bit of leeway. But the rest of this build, and I dared to be critical of it. Julian Weeks, who is a social media guy, a content creator, on X, on Twitter, basically he's a big WWE guy, and I respect him, and like, let's see, he's got a loyal following, and he likes what he likes. So he basically was talking about the whole great segment, by the way, um, between Lyra Valkyria, Becky Lynch, and Bayley for the Intercontinental Championship. And he was saying the segment's amazing. And he basically also said they tried to tell me the build wasn't good for Evolution. So I responded to this really in a nonchalant way, not really thinking about it, not really thinking I was going to get killed. I said, rest of the card has really been thrown together, unfortunately, but the IC stuff is fantastic. Best stuff on the card by a country mile. So Julian comes back and quote reposts me and basically says the following. He says, Rhea and Ia's story has been going on since before Mania. Very true. But here's the other thing. It has not been, it has been really sidelined in the Rhea Ripley thing. And Io really has not factored in very much into the women's championship picture. I don't think she's defended her. And I know Liv might have been in the cards for her at Night of Champions, but she hasn't defended that championship once since WrestleMania. She hasn't. She has not. Like, she had a match, she had a tag match, and then she had a match with right after WrestleMania against Stephanie Vaquer, and she really hasn't done anything. She hasn't done anything. She's made appearances at events, and she had that promo with Liv Morgan, and obviously that got derailed. So I get that, but I'm talking about recency. In the recency, all we had to go off of was Io chose Rhea for her match. And then, he continues here. Becky, Lyra, and Bayley's story started before Mania. Yes. And that's been going on. And to WWE's credit, that's the best story maybe in all of WWE right now. Let's call it what it is. For a mid-card championship to be as relevant and for the women, it's a testament to Bayley. It's a testament to the growth of Lyra Valkyria. And it's a testament to Bayley as a veteran who's really elevated her game since she came back. On, I believe, that June 9th show, if I remember correctly. Naomi and Jade have been feuding for months. Here's the flaw in that. Yeah, they feuded through WrestleMania, and then they had the Money in the Bank qualifier where they overlapped with one another. And then Naomi wins Money in the Bank. Jade wins Queen of the Ring. They really didn't interact until, they interacted a little bit before Night of Champions in Saudi Arabia. But then after that, it's really just been a couple of passing things, and then they just set up this match after Naomi with her new caution tape themed briefcase, and getting her new proceed with caution line over, and then giving the evil laugh, which is great. I love what they're doing with Naomi. They've been feuding for months, but they've been hot and cold really since that WrestleMania match. So that sort of felt the tag team fatal 4-way. We don't know what the circumstances were with Liv Morgan, but the Roxanne Raquel angle, he says, yeah, it has multiple storylines, Charlotte and Alexa. I will say this, the addition of Sol Ruca and Zarya felt very anticlimactic. They just added them. They just added them. And they literally lost a tag team match to um Izzy Dame and Tatum Paxley on NXT just recently. So that just felt weird. JC and Jordan have been building for weeks. Have they? I mean, yeah, Jordan's quest to go after the women's championship, but she had to go through a tournament. And JC's kind of also side feuding with Blake Monroe, which is going to happen on the NXT show. And then he goes in, although Trish and Tiff was a last minute deal, they made sense of it. Trish helped Tiffany out months ago at Elimination Chamber when she needed help. So Tiffany giving her a title match is a token of her appreciation. Cool. But Tiffany has had no credible challengers outside of really Nia Jax. And then they had the one match with Charlotte at WrestleMania. And then Julian just drops this one line at me at the end saying, hope this helps. I didn't like that. This is the whole like tribal thing. I was not trying to be an AEW schmuck and say, hey, this doesn't make sense. This doesn't make sense. My whole issue with the way that WWE has handled Evolution, they've done a really good job, and it's a testament to how great their women's division is that they were able to put together a 6-7 match card. And let's be real, Women's United States Championship match. I don't know if Julia may be in the Battle Royal, but that's still not there. You're going to have a bunch of women there. It's going to feel like somewhat of a big deal, but the way that they handled this was like just another event. And outside of Lyra, Becky, and Bayley for the Intercontinental Championship, none of these matches really feel distinguishedly special because of the recency build. I understand that feuds are there and stuff is there. Jade and Naomi's going there. They're going to have a no-holds-barred match. That's great. Tiffany and Trish feels like a dream match of sorts because Tiffany, is the star of now and, the future and the present right now. And Trish is Trish. But how Trish got this match was kind of thrown together. Io and Rhea. Like Io and Rhea really had this friendly thing, and then Io just calls out Rhea. And I understand, the Liv Morgan component of this kind of screwed this up a little bit, but Io's really not defended that title since WrestleMania. So that's probably your main event. And then, the tag team match, there's some stories that are interconnecting there, but then you add an NXT tag team that just lost. Some of this just feels really thrown together and forced. And had they given this more time, had they built this over and given dedicated more television time rather than just throwing a bunch of video packages together and, hey, Kabuki Warriors, they reunite and they're automatically in the tag team match. Like this, they've overdone their hand with putting too many events side by side by side, and the condensed calendar, I've talked about this before, has really hurt the product. It's really hurt the product. So while I appreciate people like Julian in the fan base and in the internet wrestling community, and like I said, he's got a much bigger following than me, but coming at me for having constructive criticism about WWE and how really this isn't about women's wrestling. Let's get real. This is not, if they really wanted to give an actual platform to women's wrestling, they would have given them their own standalone event, which was rumored to happen on July the 5th, which, would have been weird because it would have been the day after 4th of July. They would have had it in at Mohegan Sun in Connecticut. And, hey, that would have been fine. But they decided to put it the day after, all in Texas, the day after Saturday night's main event, just lumped it together after Night of Champions a couple weeks prior. And it just feels like another event. And yes, some of their women's feuds have kind of been carrying through things here. But my problem is like your two top championship matches were basically thrown together last week. Granted, they do have some level of build to it, but the one match that you've dedicated literally any ounce of television time to that feels the most interesting and honestly feels like the biggest deal going into this show is the Intercontinental Championship match because Lyra, Becky, and Bayley have been fucking killing it. It might be, I'll be honest with you, it's the best feud going in women's wrestling right now, and it might be one of the best feuds going in just all of wrestling in general. That's how highly I feel about those women. Yes, it may have come across maybe to some people as a little bit hammed up, but Lyra's really come out of her shell. Becky's been great. Bayley's been great. They really have shown a detest for one another. and the championship is there, but they also don't like each other. So that's something that I like to see. With Io and Rhea, it's like, hey, cool. Our two biggest women's superstars face for the women's championship. Trish Stratus, greatest woman ever. She's going to be facing Tiffany Stratton. It feels like they could have done a lot more than they did. They still put together a really good card, and but some of the build, and like I said, having to lecture me on, I watch these shows, and some people were attacking me for basically saying I don't watch the shows. I do watch the shows. And guys, I understand what's been going on, but asking like the average fan or something like that to basically be like, hey, something that happened a couple months ago. Well, I understand what's going on, but a pay-per-view build is you're dedicating TV time to get these matches on the show. All these things came together within the last 10 days. There was one match announced for this show prior to last Monday. It's a good card. I don't doubt it's going to be a good show, but the women were not put in a great position to be successful here. That's my whole thing. This could have been much bigger than it was, and I don't think this was a great representation or a great, showcase of women's wrestling that it could have been, a statement that it could have been. And even the first Evolution was a statement, but really, we all knew why they were doing that. We all knew why they were doing that. I mean, come on. They gave the women a show because the men did a show in Saudi Arabia, and they didn't allow Saudi Arabia to have women there. And now this one is kind of hamstrung because their motive is completely about just burying AEW when it should be about showcasing your women's division. And if that was really the goal of this weekend and was or was the goal of this event, Evolution, then you would have dedicated way more television time to this. I understand that feuds, these things have been percolating across the women's division for a while. But that being said, it could have been handled a lot better. That's my whole point. So anyway, that's my TED Talk here on this one. Thanks so much for watching. I'll see you guys soon.